I didn't mean to do it, but I killed everybody. I use an unconventional manure, and that's actually what I want to get to. But first I want to tell you how I got there. I bought rabbit manure. I sourced it off of Facebook Marketplace. I found a local farmer, and I love rabbit manure. Rabbit manure was one that was cool enough right out the bunny's booty to go straight into the worm bin. I didn't have to age it or anything, so that's where I started. It was great initially because it was really inexpensive, but the price went up. There wasn't a lot of profit there, so the fact that the manure costs anything was a problem. So I started sourcing free manure from folks throughout the valley. That's actually pretty easy to do. There's a lot of sheep farmers here. I didn't try that, but I did hook up with someone with horses, and I liked it. I guess if I had to recommend one, I've heard llama manure is really good, but I guess of the stuff I've used, I like horse manure the most. The worms seem to love it. But the source ran out, and by that time my operation was way too big to buy feed sacks full of rabbit manure. It just wasn't enough, so I started purchasing manure at the local farm store. I need to run to the farm store and get some cat food. Ooh. Oh. Nope. Okay. When it comes to soils, compost and mixes and stuff, they didn't do anything wrong. This is just what happens when you buy store-bought. I got out of that pile right there. You have to be very careful with this sort of stuff. These piles are mixes, and you've got to be very careful with them because the growers mix, growers choice, all that stuff. They put in things like feather meal, bone meal, stuff that can get really hot really quickly when you add food scraps. But I bought that aged compost. I brought it home and I aged it even further. It was steaming when I bought it, but it was wintertime. I brought it home, put a thermometer in it, and it was very, very, very hot. So I just set it aside and let it age. And it got so hot in the pile that the wood chips in the pile turned to ashes. It got very hot. So I aged it for a long time. I thought I was on point. But very shortly after I put the worms in, I was walking to the bed one morning and I was hit with a smell. Death. And I knew the second I got near the bed that I had killed the worms. And sure enough, that entire bed was just empty. The one thing that I didn't account for was the possibility of there being dewormer in the manure that was in the compost. And I think that's what got me. I should have tested anything store-bought in a much smaller area. I would have saved hundreds of thousands of worms from dying that way. If you use store-bought compost, I'm of the opinion that it needs to lay fallow and rest for a bare minimum of a year before you try to add living creatures to it. It's a Powerball draw today, and it's my birthday. Come on, Lucky 59. Okay, let's go back to the house, and I'll show you the last trick I have up my sleeve. Basically, the nitrogen cycle, I feed the fish. The fish make waste in the water, that's ammonia. A bacteria comes along and eats that waste, and it poops. And its poop is nitrite. Both ammonia and nitrite are toxic to fish. But then a second bacteria comes along and eats the nitrite and converts it into nitrate. Nitrate is much less toxic, but it's still toxic. But nitrate is nitrogen and oxygen. And what eats nitrogen? Plants like nitrogen. This was in soil when I bought it, but it's been in aquarium water ever since. The fern is the last part of a full circle of nitrogen cycle. Okay, so let me show you how I do the goldfish water. Today I'm pulling out every drawer. I wish they would come out so you could see them, because they're sweet and wonderful. Okay, that does it for the fish waste. But I have an even better source of nitrogen. Yeah, that's my new, that goldfish poop is my new manure. What I don't get from the goldfish poop is literal manure that I can put into my worm beds. I would still like to have a steady worm source that I knew had no dewormer in it. The apples are fantastic for drawing worms. But nothing beats manure if you're trying to collect them all in one spot to move them. A few trays of manure on top of your bed, and they all make a hard crawl for it. So, yeah, just wanted to caution. Everything from the surface can be spot on. Temperature, smell, everything can seem perfect. You won't know there's dewormer in your manure until everyone is dead. If I had it to do over, I would have put it into a much smaller section. I'll never do it again. So what is my nitrogen superpower? These are natty food scraps. And the bucket next to it is about 2 gallons of urine. It goes in this bucket for 5 days, and then the ammonia in my urine, just like in this fish water, changes from ammonia to nitrogen. Y'all, you can't beat it. I'm telling you, you can't beat it. It's not as gross as you might think. It's, you know, it's like everything else, you get used to it. And it doesn't take much. I don't have to touch it, but I'll scoop one in this and one in this. That's it. I didn't touch it. And there is nothing you can buy that will beat this. Not necessarily the fish, any manure. Your nitrogen source plus literally your nitrogen source. I'm going to add in these worm castings, and this is good to go. Anyone can do this, no matter where you live, no matter the scale. Anyone can do this, and I'm going to show you how.